Gasoline prices are up, and the markets are once again betting on rising oil prices. But the fundamentals of supply and demand haven't really changed since last August, when oil prices began a steep 5-month decline that prompted analysts to call for prices of $40 or even $30 per barrel by 2009. What has been driving that trend reversal, and what can traders expect in the coming weeks and months? Welcome to TFN's Smart Trading Action Alert. I'm Laura Cadden. Traders like to leverage prevailing fears into profits. When it comes to oil, we sure have plenty of them to go around. There are perennial favorites like the peak oil theory, as well as China's and India's increasing demand for resources. Short-term threats to supplies include a terrorist act in the Straits of Hormuz, weather-induced shortages as witnessed in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and political upheaval in major oil-producing countries like Nigeria or in the Middle East. One of the contributing factors for recent price spikes, the port workers' strike in Marseille, the second largest oil terminal in the world, has been resolved. But the volatile situation with the British Royal Navy personnel being held in Iran had its effect. With political and social tensions affecting oil's production, processing, and delivery to global markets, will prices continue to rise, or will they again stabilize or even reverse trend? Joining me today is Christian DeHamer, publisher and founder of Gresser Special Situations Trading Information Service. He has held steadfast to a bullish outlook on oil, even as other analysts lost faith. So, Chris, a few months back, you predicted, and I quote, that Iran would remain intent on causing trouble and rallying radical Islam. Now, the hostage-taking of the British sailors certainly seems to confirm this theory. With speculative capital, though, once again following this upward movement of oil, do you see specific opportunities for big gains for both traders and investors at this specific time?
Oh, sure. There's I think your trend for oil is going to continue to be up for at least the next 2 years, as long as global GDP is 4.5%. Short term, there's a number of great ways to play oil. The more volatile it becomes, the happier I am, because the more chance I can make larger returns.
And are you looking outside of the Middle East for these opportunities?
Oh, well, there's three basic places I'm looking for unexplored oil. There's under the North Pole, due to the melting ice cap. There's in Somalia, which is one of the last places in North Africa that has oil. And there's deep water undersea exploration.
So let's talk for a moment about the deep sea oil and Somalia, of all places?
Yes, well, Somalia is quite interesting because, as you know, for the past 10, 12 years after Black Hawk Down, the U.S. left. The large U.S.-based oil interest and really the large Western-based oil interest have left Somalia. But the truth is that Somalia has the same geography as Yemen and Saudi Arabia, and therefore has the expectation for a lot of oil.
And in the deep sea, how much reserves are we talking about there? Extensive?
Well, I mean, you know, there's obviously, if it's unexplored, it's unexplored. So you're talking about places where previous to now they've done some exploration, but mostly it's been off the coast. And so you're having these remote vehicles, remote operated vehicle, ROVs they call them, where they can either tow it behind a ship and then can do seismic activity. They can inspect pipelines, and that's one of the companies I'm looking at.
So for these two scenarios, for the deep sea and the Somali, are we talking big oil interest here?
Well, it's interesting. Both of these companies are kind of small. One's an Australian company, the one that's going into Somalia, and that's a fantastic stock. I'm still doing my due diligence on it, but I'll let you know more about that later. The other one's Subsea 7, the one that has the remote operation vehicles. They have $3.7 billion on their books, what's coming into them over the next 5 years. They just signed a $250 million contract with Brazil. Petrobras, the CEO of that company said they are getting a lot of bids. What they do is they rent out their submarines, their remote operation vehicles, and they get a lot. They're saying they get a lot of bids, and they're being very selective. So to me, that's incredibly bullish. They're growing about 25% a year, and you know, most people have never heard of them.
Oh, good to know. Good tip. Well, let's go back briefly to the melting polar ice caps.
Well,
is there a specific company that's going to exploit this idea?
Well, yeah, I found a big cap, a large cap company that's very good in operating in the Arctic, in the high Arctic, and I think they're the best there is. They've been growing, again, 35% a year. I've written up a whole report on it. It's been in the news all over the place that glaciers are melting, the ice cap's melting. You know, Al Gore has everybody running scared. But whether it's produced by man or not isn't really the issue here. The fact is that it's happening. There's some reports that it's being caused by the sun. The sun, increases in power, then ice caps melt. So, but regardless of all the political issues, the fact is it seems to be happening. Well documented that the ice is melting. So what that does is it opens up previously unexplored areas in the North Pole for exploration and development. And I've got a great company that's all over it. And I've got a whole report. If we can give them the links later.
Oh, sure. I can provide those.
Okay.
So all of these are actually ideas you came through for the service. It's a trading information service, Gresser.
Gresser, yes.
And you provide both stock recommendations as well as options recommendations. Is that correct in Gresser?
Yes.
What does it stand for?
Gresser stands for Growth, Real Estate, Special Situation, Oil Report. So what I like to do is find unique situations like the Somalia play, or melting ice caps, or something where you can really profit, where there's not an industry so-called around it. So that I don't have 15 analysts, where I have to outthink all those guys. I can go into the company, I can meet with the CEOs, and I'll be one or a couple people covering this company. And you get in early, and you can make a tremendous amount of returns. And
Subsea 7 that you mentioned,
yes.
Is this on the exchange, or is it a pink sheeted stock?
It trades in the U.S. as a pink sheet, but it's at $19, so it's not like it's a tiny pink sheet. And it also trades in Europe. Subsea 7, SCAFPK.
To learn more about these opportunities for cashing in on oil and Gresser Trading Research Service, go to www.gresser.com. Please tune in next week for another profitable opportunity on TFN's Smart Trading Action Alert. For TaipanFinancialNews.com, I'm Laura Cadden.